Fuel cost often looks simple, price per liter and distance driven. It feels predictable. What usually goes unnoticed is how small, everyday choices quietly shift that total. The car behaves the same, so nothing prompts a second look, and these patterns continue. This is not about shortcuts. It is about understanding what actually shapes long-term fuel cost. In this video, you will see where those differences begin, starting with one decision many people make without thinking. Why these scams go unnoticed. Most of these situations do not feel like scams at all. They are built into everyday routines, repeated by drivers, suggested casually, and rarely questioned. Nothing unusual happens right away. The car starts, drives, and behaves as expected, so there is no clear reason to stop and rethink the choice. That is what makes them easy to ignore. Instead of causing a sudden problem, they slowly increase cost in small amounts that are difficult to notice in daily use. Over time, those small differences add up. What feels normal in the moment can quietly become expensive across months or even years. Some of these patterns begin with something as simple as the fuel you choose. Scam number 1. Premium fuel, better for every car. Premium fuel often feels like the responsible choice. It costs more, so it must be better for the engine. That assumption is easy to accept, especially when nothing seems wrong after using it. But fuel grade is not about better or worse. It is about octane, how resistant the fuel is to knocking during combustion. Engines are built to run on a specific octane level. If your car is designed for regular fuel, premium does not improve performance or efficiency. The car will feel exactly the same. No warning, no difference in daily driving. And that is where the confusion begins. Because nothing changes, the habit continues. Fill after fill, the extra cost feels justified. But the engine is not using that higher octane in any meaningful way. The United States Department of Energy explains that using a higher octane fuel than required does not provide added benefit for most vehicles. It looks like better care. But this is where the cost starts hiding. Scam number 2. Fuel additives for better mileage. The bottle looks simple. Pour it in, drive as usual, and expect a smoother engine or better fuel economy. It feels like a small upgrade, especially during a routine fill. A common situation. Someone tries an additive after noticing nothing is wrong, just to keep things clean. The car feels slightly different on the next drive. That small change is enough to make the product feel effective. But modern fuel already includes cleaning agents designed to keep key components working properly. That process is built into the fuel itself. So when an additive is added on top, it often does not change anything meaningful. The engine continues to operate the same way it was before. The improvement feels real. But that feeling does not come from a mechanical change. Used occasionally, certain products can help in specific cases. Used regularly without a clear reason, they simply add cost. It looks like extra care. But this is where unnecessary spending quietly begins. Scam number 3. Routine fuel system cleaning services. This usually happens during a routine visit. The car comes in for an oil change, no warning lights, no rough idle, no complaint from the driver. Then a suggestion appears, a fuel system cleaning. It sounds reasonable. Deposits can affect performance, so cleaning must help. And since the car is already in the shop, it feels easier to approve. But modern fuel systems are designed to stay clean during normal use, especially with good quality fuel. In most cases, there is no active issue when this service is recommended. That is what makes it difficult to question. The car leaves the shop running the same as before. No visible change, no immediate benefit. And that is exactly why the service feels safe. Cleaning can be useful when there is a clear symptom or a diagnostic reason. Without that, it becomes a repeated add-on rather than a solution. It looks like maintenance. But this is where routine visits quietly turn into extra cost. Scam number 4. All gas stations offer the same fuel quality. Many drivers assume that fuel is the same regardless of where it is purchased. The belief is that all stations follow the same standard, so the only difference is price. On the surface, this seems logical, and in daily driving, no immediate difference is noticeable. All fuel must meet a basic standard, but some suppliers go beyond that by including higher levels of cleaning agents. These added detergents help reduce the buildup of deposits inside the engine over time. Fuel with only the minimum requirement can still work, but it may allow deposits to form gradually. This buildup does not happen all at once. The engine continues to run smoothly, so there is no clear signal that anything is changing. Over a longer period, however, these deposits can affect how efficiently fuel is burned, which can influence performance and fuel economy. The cost difference between fuel sources may seem small in the moment, but the long-term effect can be noticeable. Choosing fuel is not just about price. Even with the right type of fuel, how it is used during refueling also plays a role. Scam number 5. Topping off after the first click saves money. The pump clicks, and the tank is technically full. But many drivers add a little more, thinking it will extend the next drive. It feels efficient, just a bit extra before leaving. At first, nothing seems off. The car runs the same and the fuel gauge looks fuller. That is what makes this habit easy to repeat. Fuel systems, however, are designed with a small space for air and vapors. That space matters. It allows fuel to expand and keeps the vapor system working correctly. When extra fuel is forced in, that balance begins to shift. There is no immediate sign of a problem, no warning light, no change in performance. And that is exactly why it goes unnoticed. But repeated topping off can push fuel into parts of the system that are not designed to handle it. The effect builds quietly with each refill. It feels like getting more value. But this is where small habits start turning into avoidable issues. Scam number 6. Pumping at maximum speed is better. This one feels like saving time. Select the fastest setting, fill the tank quickly, and move on. There is no obvious downside, and the process seems efficient. At first, everything looks normal. The fuel gauge rises, the pump stops, and the drive continues as usual. Nothing suggests a difference. But fuel does not enter the tank the same way at higher speeds. Faster flow creates more movement inside the tank, which can introduce small amounts of vapor into the process. The change is subtle. One fill will not show it. That is what makes it easy to ignore. Repeat it again and again. That small variation becomes part of a pattern. Using a slower setting does not feel important in the moment. It only adds a few extra seconds. But this is where small handling choices begin to influence consistency. It looks like a faster option, but this is where efficiency starts to drift slightly off track. Scam number 7. Fuel-saving gadgets. Improve mileage. You've probably seen these online. A small device that plugs into your car or clips onto a line, promising better fuel economy without changing how you drive. It sounds simple enough to try. No effort, no adjustment, just improved mileage. Here's the part most people don't stop to question. What exactly is it changing? Modern engines already control fuel delivery through built-in systems that respond to sensors, temperature, load, and driving conditions. Those decisions happen inside the vehicle's own control unit. A basic external device, especially one that is not integrated into that system, has no real pathway to influence how fuel is measured or delivered. Yet the claims often sound detailed. Numbers, percentages, technical wording. It gives the impression that something precise is happening. That is where the confusion starts. Some drivers install these devices and expect a change. The next few drives feel smoother or more efficient. But nothing in the system has actually been altered. The experience comes from expectation, not mechanical change. If a simple plug-in could consistently improve fuel economy, it would already be part of the vehicle's design. It is not. And that gap between expectation and reality is where the cost begins. Advice like this is not limited to products. It often shows up in conversations too. Scam number 8. Use premium just to be safe. Advice? This usually comes up in a casual way. Someone suggests using premium fuel, not because it is required, but because it feels like a safer choice. It sounds reasonable. Better fuel, better care. But that assumption skips an important detail. Every engine is built with a specific fuel grade in mind. That choice is not random. It is based on how the engine compresses fuel and how combustion is controlled. When a vehicle is designed for regular fuel, it is already operating within the conditions it was built for. Switching to premium in that situation does not add protection. The system does not adjust in a way that creates extra benefit. The engine continues to run exactly as it was intended to. What makes this advice easy to accept is the idea of prevention. It feels responsible to do a little more than necessary. But there is a difference between preventing a problem and solving one that does not exist. The result is subtle, The car feels unchanged. The drive remains the same, and there is no clear signal that anything unnecessary is happening. That is what allows the habit to continue. Fuel habits are not only about what goes into the tank, they are also shaped by when and why those choices are made. Scam number 9. Refueling only when the tank is almost empty. It usually starts as a habit. The fuel gauge drops near empty, the warning light comes on, and only then does the refill happen. It feels efficient. Use every last bit before stopping. Nothing seems wrong, so the pattern continues. What is easy to miss is that fuel does more than power the engine. It also helps keep the fuel pump cool and stable during operation. When the level runs very low, that support becomes limited. The system still works, but it is operating closer to its edge. There is no sudden failure. The car starts, drives, and responds as usual. That is what makes this habit easy to ignore. But repeated cycles like this can affect how consistently the system performs. The change is not dramatic. It shows up as small variations, slight strain, less stability, subtle wear that builds quietly. One instance does not matter much. Repeating it regularly does. When this pattern combines with other small habits, the effect becomes easier to notice. The hidden pattern behind these scams. Each of these habits feels small on its own. A different fuel choice, a product added during a fill, a service accepted without a clear need, or a routine that seems efficient. None of them stand out, and that is what makes them easy to repeat. When placed together, however, the picture changes. A few extra cents at every refill, a service that did not change anything, a product that felt useful but was not needed, and small inefficiencies repeated again and again begin to add up. Nothing dramatic happens, and the car continues to run normally, which is exactly why the pattern continues unnoticed. The cost does not appear in a single moment. It builds gradually across regular driving. The difference is not caused by one decision, but by repetition. Once that pattern becomes visible, it becomes much easier to correct, and that is where control returns. Practical fuel awareness. Simple corrections. Fixing this does not require anything complicated. There is no need for special tools or new routines. It comes down to a few steady choices that stay consistent. Start with the fuel itself. Use the grade recommended for your vehicle. That alone removes one of the most common sources of unnecessary spending. From there, pay attention to where the fuel comes from. Choosing a reliable source helps maintain consistency in how the engine performs. During refueling, keep the process simple. A steady flow works better than rushing. Once the pump stops, there is no need to add more. Let the system operate as it was designed. Avoid adding products unless there is a clear reason. If the car shows no signs of a problem, extra treatments usually do not change anything. None of these steps feel significant on their own. But when applied consistently, they shift the entire pattern in a better direction. Final thought. The difference you carry forward. Most of these habits are easy to miss because nothing feels wrong in the moment. The car runs, the drive feels normal, and there is no clear signal to question anything. That is what makes them stick. But once you see how these small choices add up, it becomes easier to adjust them without effort. This is not about changing everything at once. It is about making a few better decisions each time you refuel or maintain your car. Those small shifts quietly reduce unnecessary cost and help the car stay consistent. If this kind of clear, practical information is useful to you, you can consider subscribing for more videos like this. In the end, it is rarely one big decision that matters. It is the small ones you repeat without thinking that shape what you spend.